Good evening. This is the second time I've introduced myself tonight. That's right. I screwed up the stream. I was supposed to start it. Oh, here we go. I just wanted to make sure I had a confirmation because I really had a mess there. Um, I literally started the stream at 10 o'clock, which is unusual because I was on time, and then I looked and I wasn't live. From microphone not working on just a great stream I had one time to nights like tonight where I have a wonderful intro and then blow it by not being actually live by hitting the right button. Um, it's amazing. Amazingly challenging to stream often. But you probably don't care about that. You're probably a new viewer and you're probably like, what did I just stumble on? Well, you stumbled on the Deerwood Realty live stream. And what's that? Well, it starts by an introduction. My name is John Schenk, and I am the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small residential firm. In fact, we're so small, it's just me. It might not be me forever, but I'm saying right now, it's just me. And I work primarily to help buyers buy homes and sellers to sell theirs. At night, we do the Deerwood Realty live stream. And what is that? Well, we talk about popular culture. We talk about housing. We talk about the real estate market. We talk about news in the real estate market. We talk about news in general. We like to look at all kinds of things just so there's a space, just so there's some place where you can go, where you can be like, wow, that's just a guy. That's just a guy that's doing his thing. And I kind of respect that. And you might not. You might be like, I hate that guy, and I hope he never shows up back up on my screen. Totally fine as well. Got a good show tonight. I really do think we do. We have a bunch of different ways we're going to go. We're going to talk about. I had a seller that I was dealing with recently. I was representing the buyer, but the seller is a total disaster of a human being, and I just wanted to go over it with you. You tell me, am I the asshole? Because I've had enough. We're going to talk about, oddly enough, oil filters. Oil filters. Is the oil filter you use manufactured in the USA? Do you care? Apparently, the housing bubble has popped the second time in the 2000s, and why? I mean, the second time in 20 years. It seems a little crazy. What's up with that? We've got an article to talk about that. We're going to talk about short-term rentals in Philly are getting some new restrictions. And then we're going to talk about things like lying. What is a lie? Is it bad to lie? Would a congressman ever lie? What about a senator? I was in a lie. I want to confess to the lie that I had. I told you on Tuesday night that I was going to stream on Wednesday night, and I didn't. I didn't stream. I had no intention of not streaming. I went to a couple's house with my wife, and we didn't leave until midnight. And by the time I got home, I was fried. I just mentally done. We had such a good time. I haven't spoken with them since September of this year, and I just felt like, meeting with friends during the holidays is important. But it was a lie. Now, we can couch the lie. We could say, it's, you didn't mean to lie, so it's not so bad. Well, that's true. I mean, so does there have to be intent with the lie? Now, I don't want to get into the weeds too much on this, but I do want to go over this particular issue because I find it to be fascinating. The way the way the media narrative works on this is just mind blowing. So we'll talk about that. I don't know time wise how we're going to do tonight. I don't know if we're going to be on for an hour or longer. It depends. I mean, if you're in the chat, if I get some spammers or something like that we can block, that'd be nice. I wanted to say thank you to those of you who have subscribed. 130 subscribers. I know, 45 years old, been on YouTube for a year, live streaming for maybe 6 months or longer now. Maybe I should be further along. Yeah, maybe. But I mean, I'm in a very, very odd niche, real estate live streaming. I don't know that anybody else is doing it. And not everybody wants to deal with real estate every day. Not everybody wants to deal with the markets. So I get it. I'm just used to it because it's my profession. It's what I do. It's how I feed my family. So I think I probably pay more attention than most, and I think I should. I think it's time to start the story. Now, look, my storytelling is terrible. Okay, now that's not a vote of confidence for why you should keep listening, but I'm just putting it out there up front that my ability to tell a story is not good and it needs to be better. And so I think that's why I'm publicly confessing to the fact that my storytelling is terrible. But let's go through this situation and you tell me if am I the asshole? And I don't, by the way, I don't want to be. Let's just say I was representing a buyer in a transaction and they wanted to buy let's just say a condo. Okay. And this listing came up. Okay. And it was way overpriced. And we went to go see it. And we didn't know if it was overpriced until we went to go see it. When we went to go see it in person, it was a disgusting, disgusting place. And the price on it was terrible. And not only that, the listing itself was, well, you can't show the house until after 5. You can't, it's going to be as is, um, you know, all this stuff. And I was like, oh, and the elevator doesn't work. And I was like, to my buyer, I was like, this is not a place that I think you should spend time with. I think this is a terrible idea. And my buyer was like, I really want to put an offer on this. So I put an offer in on it. We didn't go at asking because it was a terrible place. We didn't get it accepted. So we just kind of moved on. But 2 weeks later, we get a call. Hey, would you consider putting an offer on the property? Sure. So we put the property offer in and magically enough, we get it. Now, in that whole process, as we got it, it was seller doesn't have any money. The seller is going through issues. The seller's doing this. The seller's doing that. Can't do this because of the seller. The seller says this. The seller says that. It was always the seller, the seller, the seller. It was never the buyer, the buyer, the buyer. And that matters. That matters because if you start to perceive as a buyer that your seller isn't going to work with you, you're not real interested in helping them either. I mean, why should you? So then some things happen. I mean, negative things. Seller can't do this. Seller can't do that. Seller, seller can never do anything. Seller's always too busy. Seller hates to be inconvenienced. Seller has no money. It's always seller, 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 seller. And I'm sitting there and it's like everything my buyer's doing is to help this person sell this place. And everything this seller's doing is just being an asshole. I mean, I can't stand him. So we get to the point where closing, okay, is set. Buyer gets it funded, the loan funded. Seller still doesn't have their stuff out. Seller doesn't have a transmitter for the garage door. So buyer has to go find, and this is a condo, so the buyer has to go find who makes the garage door openers and all this crap. So that's another week or two. Seller doesn't give my buyer the mailbox key to the condo. That comes into play in a moment. About a week later, we get the key. Okay. Because, seller's busy. Seller's got a job. Seller's got all kinds of issues. And I'm like, why is it always my buyer that has to sit there and put up with the seller in this situation? Why doesn't the seller ever do anything to help my buyer? Like anything at all? Why is it always one-sided? Well, gets down the road a little while and I get a text from the listing agent and it's like, seller forgot to forward their mail. So would you have your buyer go to the condo and make sure that they have the mail ready for my seller? Now, the way it's written matters. Also, what you've done the entire deal matters. Because I'm getting a little tired of hearing about what the seller wants, because the seller always wants something. Seller never wants to help the buyer. Seller always wants something. Seller wants my buyer to take his time, but seller never wants to take their time. I said, you know what? Buyer's kind of pissed. Buyer's kind of tired of seller. Seller's kind of been a jerk the whole time. We'll do this, but we'll do it when the buyer wants to. So the buyer gets the mail. Buyer puts the mail outside, puts it under a rock, take a picture, says, hey, here's your stuff. Sent it to the listing agent. Get a text this morning from the listing agent that says, will you please, in the future, will you please have your buyer just leave it in the mailbox or leave it close to his unit, and the seller will just go and get one of the neighbors to give him the mail or something. Some of the mail was dirty and wet, and so please don't do that anymore, and just go ahead, and whenever we ask again, will you please just make sure that the buyer just complies. Now understand, we've owned this condo for a month. Okay. I said, tell your seller that they're a pain in the ass and we want nothing to do with them. Go away. Now, I would not do that. 99 times out of 100, I would never do that. But this seller thinks the world revolves around them. This seller thinks that there's nobody else in the world that has to be dealt with except for them. And it's not like they're millionaires, okay? This isn't even a high dollar unit. I've got more money in going back and forth with the agent than I do actually in commission earned. It's absolutely ridiculous. And to sit there and to write a text to tell us how to handle her mail after this has been going on for a month. Like, there's this thing called quiet enjoyment. When you buy a property, you're supposed to have quiet enjoyment of the property. That means that the person that is giving you the deed is saying, here it is for your quiet enjoyment. It means you're not going to bother the buyer anymore. Okay. You're not going to bother them. They have a right to peaceful enjoyment of the property they bought. And this person is not even close to allowing that to happen. Am I the asshole for finally saying, look, you've done nothing in this deal that's been helpful to my buyer? Nothing. And now you want me to worry about, you want me to sort your mail that you are too lazy to even get forwarded? What the hell's wrong with you? What the hell's wrong with you? So, you tell me, you put it in the comments, you can put it in the chat. I don't care. I'm done. I'm done. And then I thought about it. I was like, well, is that being professional to tell someone to go away? I mean, if you look at this, under what circumstance am I going to benefit from this? Like, I've got my commission. I've sold the place. I've helped my buyer. The seller bought a new house. They're not using me. The seller isn't doing anything other than just being a pain in my butt. And I'm tired of it. I can't help it if the mail sucks. Okay. It's not my control. All right. But you knew you were moving for a month and you couldn't figure out how to forward your mail. You couldn't even give us the key. Oh, I've been busy. My life has sucked. This person is one of those people that you don't ever want to work with as a real estate agent. They will suck the life right out of you and they will think nothing of it because they will never be happy. They will never be content because it's always about them and they're just terrible people. And I don't feel bad for them. I don't feel sorry for them. I just don't want to have anything to do with them. We all have to get rid of toxic people in our lives. And I mean that. And I understand this. I'm not for people like, if you've got a family, okay, you should try to work things out for the most part. But if you've got someone that's, like really abusive, and I'm talking like really abusive, you need to let them go. Okay. And if that's your family, that you should let them go, then you should definitely not have some client that's such a jerk that's doing this. You should definitely let them go. There's nothing to be won on this. Now, here's the thing. I suspect they could go on realtor.com. I suspect they could go on Google. I suspect they could go 15 different places, the seller, and write something negative about me. Okay. So my reviews would reflect a seller who was a complete jerk, like just a terrible human being. And this is potential buyers or sellers down the road could look at that and say, hey, we can't use John because this one person who's failed at life is upset with you. That's the world I live in. That's how difficult this is. One bad review, 50 bad reviews, 100 bad reviews, you're done. You're done. You're not picking up new business, no matter how good of a job you do for your clients. Makes you wonder about the review process, eh? It sure does for me. So anyway, you tell me, am I wrong? How many, and answer me this, how many months am I supposed to take care of mail service for the seller when they no longer own the condo? How many more requests am I going to get to bend over backwards for the seller when the seller's done nothing to help my buyer? I mean, seriously. And then, I'm going to say it out loud. I feel sorry for the listing agent. I feel sorry for the listing agent. The things that they've had to put up with for this transaction, it must be pure hell. Must be pure hell. And they don't deserve it. In fact, no one deserves this. So, it's very, very odd when you read, like, if you're a real estate agent and you've been through the wars, you read comments online from people that are so uninformed and so, so anti-realtor because they got a bad realtor. And I don't blame those people. But this assumption that they know everything about real estate. If you know so much about it, just buy a house. Just don't use an agent. Just don't use an agent. There's no point, right? If that's your core business, you don't want any assistance, you don't want any advice, don't use it. Don't waste my time. And that's been one of the hurdles, I would say, in my business is I have no interest in prostrating myself out for these people that are just not good people. Not people I'd ever want to know in real life, not people that I'd want to be friends with. I mean, why would I want to work in that environment? I mean, why would I want to build a client list of people like that? And people are shocked. People are say, you would fire a client if it didn't work out? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. My mental health is more important than anything in this business. It really is. I mean, I only got one life. It's important to me. Now, understand, I mean, today was kind of a realization for me. I have some levels of, I mean, I'm self-diagnosing myself, but I have some levels of PTSD from being in real estate. I mean, today after that event, I had two other things happen that were not negative. And one was just quite positive, but the other event was like, I was going through it and I was just like, I was more, um, I was more, I mean, I was speaking with the other agent in tones of, I'm not trying to yell. I'm trying to explain this because I wasn't trying to yell. I was just, I've seen people get mad before in certain situations like this. And I was trying to lay out like, look, I mean, and I've been yelled at before and I've had, people come at me really hard. And I was trying to explain like, look, everything's cool here. Like, I'm just trying to get clarification for something. And it wasn't like that. I was trying to say, I'm not trying to do like this passive aggressive. I'm trying to get information from you. Like, and so I can just throw it right back in your face in a minute. This was no, I saw something that you wrote and I'm just trying to understand so that I can better assist you and get the deal done. But that's where and when I was talking to that agent, they had PTSD. In fact, everyone I talked to agent wise, I mean, and you say, well, it's not PTSD. Well, fine. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's this, you have these events in your business that are just so negative that like it affects you every other deal. So I'll just talk my book a little bit. I had one lady that was concerned about a piece of paper that I sent over that was a positive thing. They were like, "Are you sure you've got a loan commitment? Are you sure that you've got it appraised?" And I'm like, "Well, why would I send this over if I didn't have that information?" And they were like, "You'd be surprised." Well, That's a tell. No, I'm not surprised because terrible, terrible things can happen during a real estate deal. And so there was that. There was a lady wrote an offer and she's like, I don't think it'll go through. Um, it was just, and she was like, like apologetic. Um, I, the empathy for me is like much of my business, the quote unquote emotional intelligence. I ride along with my buyers and sellers throughout the transaction, and I try to put myself in their shoes at every moment, so that I don't let them down. And those agents who can, like I used to call them sharks, I still think they are. There's people in this business that they don't blink. They just they don't have any thought behind who they are. They just they're they're just sharks. They see blood in the water and they just attack. I had that happen with I was representing some buyers, um, maybe 2 months ago. Their parents were using a real estate agent that was different than me for one of their deals, and that guy was just talking all kinds of junk about me, scaring the buyers and giving them all kinds of problems. Um, that was a shark. That was someone that I don't want anything to do with. Because they're trying to steal my business and I'm not even doing anything like to warrant that. I've already got my buyer lined up. I'm already helping them buy a home. I've already got something under contract. There's no need for him to get into my deal and start yapping and scaring my buyers. So, how am I going to fix this PTSD? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. I I mean it like the events that have gotten to this moment have come from so many different angles, so many different things that it's like I just don't know. Like, if I solved one issue, I still don't know that it would keep me from fixing another issue. Now, look, maybe I've said too much, um, but I want to be honest with you, and you have to understand. Like, I'm definitely not the only one. If I've talked to 3 agents today, and we're all sitting there, like, trying to work things out, professionally, when things for all of us have gone terribly south in the past. I don't know, but um, I just it's just it's just hard. It's just hard, and I don't. I know, like I know everybody thinks being a real estate agent is easy. I get that. I know people think that it's like you can just screw people over left and right, and it's fine. It's like it's not. It's not what I want to do. Um, but man, it's just like it's really something. It's really something very hard, very difficult. If you want to stay in the business a long time, if you want to like make a bunch of money and leave, you could probably get away with it, but you have to be a terrible person. You just have to be a terrible human being. Um, it's up to you. Well, that being said, I wanted to go over some other stuff tonight. I want to check something. Okay. So we're going to change gears. Enough about me for the moment. Well, not enough about me because we're going to talk about me some more, but um, I will come clean with another confession. I like to change my own oil in my car. And I like to change the oil with all my like my kids and my wife. Right now she doesn't have a car, but she'll have a car, you know, next year for sure. Why? Well, I used to go to like this one place I trusted, and I had a car. It was a really nice car, and I'd take it over there and I'd get the oil changed. And one night I was driving home and the light came on, no oil, and my car shut down. That's weird. Like I have a 6 quart container, a holding of oil, and I have no oil. Like, how does that happen? How is it that I take my car religiously to get the oil changed and they can't figure out that my car is burning so much oil that there's none left? I was done at that point. Plus, I was getting charged like stupid amounts of money for an oil change. Like it was getting to be like $150 to $175 to get my oil changed. Plus, I'd have to take my car over there. Plus, I have to bring it back. Um, it was just I'd have to schedule it ahead. I mean, it was just taking a large amount of time, and I was not. I mean, I didn't get to choose the oil that I wanted. I didn't get to choose the filter I wanted, and it just kind of got old. It got really old. Now, you know, if you got 3 cars and you're running, what, 400 2 oil changes a year, so you're like $400 you're $800 a year just to change oil in your car, it gets a little bit pricey. Like, I just I just got to the point, and then to get this incompetence where, like, the guy changes the oil, can't doesn't notice that nothing's coming out. So I said to him, I did the math and I looked at it, and you say, "Well, your time spent isn't free," but, you know, I get that. And I've got a million projects to do, and I'm not even close to getting them all done. And I understand that. I mean, my sewer, the last 2 days, I've not gotten on the sewer in the basement. It's just a mess. I hate it. It smells, but I think that's the plants that I got down here. So anyway, um, I just, I just did the math, and I was like, okay, so if I bought the best oil you can buy, how much is that going to cost me? Is that going to cost me $130? And then I need to buy a few tools. I already have a lot of them. I was like, I can do this for cheaper and have a better result than if I take it to the shop. Now, I used to take my car to the oil change because I thought that they would like it used to be, you take it to the oil change and they check your car. They put it up on the lift. They check and see if you're, kind of check the tires and see if the tires are worn or if there's anything wrong with that, or to check the suspension and, are there any, bearings or anything going out. But, I guess that's all gone. So I'm not missing anything by not taking it to the shop. And so I bought the supplies that I need, and I'm running oil changes for, I'd say, around $60 myself. Because my cars, I've noticed, like, I don't know about you, but like one of my cars takes 7 quarts of oil. So I was having to buy two 1 gallon jugs. So I was not saving money there. And then anyway, so you could, I mean, if you ever want to drive, you want to go down the rabbit hole, look at oil filters and oil. And so, just so you know, at first I was getting oil from Walmart. They had the Pennzoil Platinum, full platinum or something. It's great oil, I thought. I mean, based on everything I saw, so I used it. And then after the pandemic, and during the pandemic, you couldn't even get it. You had to go to like an auto parts store, and then that was like, oh man, like $10, for a jug more. It was the same oil. I'm like, good Lord, this is ridiculous. And then at Walmart, you could also find the filters. Like, so for the Toyota filter, if you know anything about it, it's a paper filter, so it's a canister. And after that, Walmart wasn't carrying that either. Like, they had it, but they just never had it in stock. And the aisles were always messed up and everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I don't really want to go to the auto parts store and spend $10 per jug more than I would, at Walmart. That doesn't make any sense. I bought oil from Amazon one time, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And so finally I got involved with AMSOIL. Now, I'm not a dealer of AMSOIL, and I'm not sure that their products are any better than anybody else's. But one thing AMSOIL has, well, two things that it has going for it, for me at least, is I can use their regular OE oil. Okay. And I can buy 1 quart containers. So I just get 7 quarts. Okay. And they also have filters. They carry Wix filters, or they carry AMSOIL filters for the upper brand. You can just get all of it at one place and they ship it to you. And as long as you're over a certain number for shipping, it doesn't cost anything. Or it's much less. Plus, you're in the rewards club and you can buy other things. And all in all, I love the way it's set up. Okay. I don't know if the oil's any good. And I'm sorry that I've just gone and told you a lot about oil and my oil changing preferences. But anyway, it gets even worse. I I uh I got to this situation where I was like, on the filters, I liked the Purelator filter. They have the Purelator 1, and then they have the Purelator Boss, and these filters are just outstanding, but they're from China, and so because of the supply chain disruptions, I can never get them on Amazon. I've never even thought to go to an auto parts place, but one of my YouTube people that I watch all the time uses Wix religiously, and Amsoil on their lower line carries Wix filters, and I was like, "This is great. I've got this wonderful company, this American company, and it's gonna be great." And I'm sure that the filters come from the United States, because why would Amsoil, which is based in the United States and does most of their business in the United States, why would they use somebody from somewhere else? And so I know it sounds weird, but I still like the idea of American quality. I'm not sure that it exists. It might be just a dream. It might just be like something that doesn't, it's not tangible, it's not real. And I guarantee you, if you're in another country, like if you're in, like, say, Slovenia, you're not looking for an oil filter built in Slovenia. Okay. Like you've long passed, you're not looking for a car built in Slovenia. You're not, you're not thinking that way. But this is the United States, and we used to manufacture things here, and it was a pretty good deal, and we made pretty good products. And so I was like, you know what, I even though I do Amsoil in there, they're supposed to be out of the United States for sure. I'd really like to buy an oil filter for my car made in the United States. Now you say, well, John, that's ironic because you drive a Subaru. Yes, yes, I know. But my Subaru is made in Indiana, and you say, well, yeah, but the parts aren't manufactured in the United States. Well, look, if you want to go look at like a Ford pickup truck, like a Ford F-150, look at where it's assembled, look at where the major parts come from, and then come back and talk to me about an American-made car. And they've been doing that for 25 years. Okay, so I mean, the jig has been up for a long time. If you want to talk about how Dodge is an American company, Chrysler, Dodge, I mean, the big three is the big two, and Tesla's on its own. So anyway, that being said, I was like, hey, let me get an oil filter from an American company. It would solve the supply chain problem. I should be able to get one of those pretty easily. It should be in stock everywhere. So I found this article, and I want to share it with you. And I want to do it right because I hit the wrong button. Okay. But it won't be because I screwed up. I looked at this article here. Now, look, I'm not saying that they're perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Okay. But I do think it's worthwhile to go over. So let's take a look here. It says, which oil filters are made in the United States? I don't think I'm the only one that wants an oil filter that's made in the United States. That oil filter there looks like either a Purelator or it's actually Super Tech. I can tell exactly. And now if you go on YouTube and go down the rabbit hole, you'll see people cut open oil filters, and they inspect how they look, how they're manufactured, and it's big YouTube views. I'm not going to do that. I'm not that interested. But there's all these features like what's on a cheap filter versus what's on a more expensive filter, the type of pleating, the type of the filtering media matters, the gasket between the filter and the car matters, the drain valve I mean, there's all this stuff about the filters, but basically what you'll see most of the time on these videos is never use Fram. like, never use Fram. They're terrible, and I don't even know what to make. I mean, I didn't know that. I mean, I saw that Walmart carried a huge line, but you know I mean, here's the thing: is my car going to run better or longer because I use um, one oil over the other? No, I don't think so. Not if I change the oil on the manufacturer's recommended specs. And that's the thing. Like for Amsoil, I can go up to an oil that's like you can change it once every 16,000 miles or a year under any driving condition. But I don't want to keep my oil in my engine for that long. I just want to do manufacturer recommended. Also, these filters have gotten to the point where you can do just ridiculous intervals. But I just don't feel like I don't feel it's like I don't feel like it's worth it. I mean, I'm already in this I'm already in this field here where it's like I feel like I'm doing more than the average guy. let's continue. It says, looking for an oil filter made in the USA. These brands are your best bet. It says, despite OEM and aftermarket parts increasingly being outsourced to countries with cheaper labor, a lot of parts are still made here in the United States, oil filters included. Well, when we go through this, it's going to get dicey. Okay. So let's just say it says, listed below are the oil filters, oil filter makers and brands with U.S. factories. As you'll soon realize, while there are more than a dozen oil filter brands made in the U.S., a lot share the same manufacturer, Champion Labs and Man and Hummel. It's a fact worth remembering if you're agonizing over brands. Look, that's something that I do care about. And I was thinking about this as I was taking my parents to dinner for my dad's birthday. Is there a, um, I forgot the word. Help me out. Does one company have so much market share that it's just, uh, I want to say like oligarchy, but it's not right. It's they filed Standard Oil had a monopoly. Sorry guys, it's late. I mean, if two companies control damn near 95% of the market, is that not a monopoly? And I mean, if it's all the oil filters being the market, I mean, obviously, if you do car parts, it's probably not the same. But man, it just seems like. So anyway, remember, Champion Labs and Man and Hummel. Okay, so here we go. A list is by no means exhaustive. If there's a major oil filter maker still making filters in the USA that I've missed and you'd like to see added to the list, leave a comment below. Okay, so AC Delco. Well, that's Chevy, right? Made in the United States. It says AC Delco, headquartered in Grand Blanc, Michigan, and parts manufacturer for GM, partners with Champion Laboratories to make its private label of oil filters. Champ Labs has manufacturing facilities in Illinois and South Carolina. Champ Labs is part of the First Brands group. Okay, now these are huge worldwide companies. Amsoil oil filters. Well, it's like, hey, yay, made in the United States. Amsoil, headquartered in Superior, Wisconsin, is known for its 100% American-made lubricants. Amsoil partners with Champion Laboratories, which is the same as AC Delco, to produce its private label oil filters. Champion Labs has a manufacturing facilities in Illinois and South Carolina. Champ Labs is part of the First Brands group. So they're essentially, if I buy an AC Delco and I buy an Amsoil, it's the same damn oil filter at the different price points. So there's probably an AC Delco superior, superior line. There's probably an AC Delco moderate, and then there's, just scraping by. Amsoil only makes one type of filter, to my knowledge, and it's the best type of filter you can make. But again, it's going to be the same as the AC Delco. Now we're just talking about price. Baldwin, I was like, majority made in the United States. Baldwin Filters, headquartered in Kearney, Nebraska, is part of the Parker Hannifin Corporation filtration group. Since Baldwin acquired Hastings Premium Filters, most, if not all, Baldwin oil filters are made in the United States. Now, that's what I read. I read somewhere else that that's not true. And then where do you buy a Baldwin oil filter? Let me see. You can buy them on eBay. Something called Parts Hawk. So it doesn't have a country of origin on Amazon. I don't know. So maybe that's one of them that does. So we've got one. Let's go on. It says Bosch, majority made in the United States. Bosch USA, headquartered in Farmington Hills, Michigan, partners with Purelator to make its oil filters. So Purelator, owned by Man and Hummel, has its main manufacturing facility in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Okay. So Bosch is Man and Hummel, which is in Fayetteville, they say. CarQuest, majority made in the United States. CarQuest, headquartered in Raleigh, North Carolina, partners with Champion Laboratories. So three of them are there, and to make its automotive filters. It says Champion Labs has manufacturing in Illinois and South Carolina. It's worth noting that Champ Labs has a manufacturing facility in Shanghai, China, with evidence that some oil filters are made there. But as of this writing, automotive filters are still U.S. made. Champ Labs is part of the First Brands group. It says Donaldson, some of the filters made in the United States. Donaldson Filtration is headquarters in Bloomington, Minnesota, according to BITOG. Bob is the oil guy, remember. Donaldson 3 and 3.5 diameter cans are built in Mexico. The rest are private label made by Champion Laboratories, which is First Brands. Fleet Guard, majority made in the United States. Fleet Guard, aka Cummins Filtration, is the filtration division of Cummins Engines. Fleet Guard oil filters are made in Cookeville, Tennessee, and Nashville, Wisconsin, or Neillsville. Fleet Guard does have manufacturing facilities in Mexico and Australia, so you can expect some Fleet Guard oil filters to be made there too. Consult the oil filter box and casing to confirm. Okay, well, can I buy a Fleet Guard filter for my Subaru Outback? I mean, you got to be able to find you, you got to be able to find Fleet Guard filters to even be able to do it. If you're rocking a Fleet Guard filter, does anybody like give you any sort of respect? Anyway, Fram, majority made in the United States. I've been told not to get a Fram. It says over 90% of Fram ultra-synthetic oil filters are developed, engineered, and made here in the USA. It's safe to assume that 10% of that line oil filter is made elsewhere. So not all Fram oil filters in the United States, but a majority are. So the one brand that seems to be American made is it's with First Brand. So that's like Champion Auto Group. So it's like, okay, then it's Microgard, O'Reilly House brand. Some oil filters made in the United States. O'Reilly House Auto Parts, headquartered in Springfield, Missouri, partners with Man and Hummel, specifically with Wix and Purelator, to produce Microgard brand of oil filters. There's also evidence O'Reilly works with Premium Guard and STP to make their Microgard Select oil filters. Fairly certain that Microgard oil filter is made by U.S.-based Wix and Purelator oil filter factories. It says some Microgard Select oil filters might be made in the United States, but there's evidence many aren't. Consult the oil filter box in casing to confirm. That's the problem. You can't even get really the box anymore unless you buy it. Motorcraft partners with Purelator. Purelator is owned by Man and Hummel. It says it manufactures its oil filters at the main manufacturing facility in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Purelator, majority made in the United States, not my Subaru. Could tell you that up front. Headquartered in Fayetteville, North Carolina, it's now owned by Man and Hummel. Purelator still makes a majority of its oil filters in the United States, but as now part of a global filter conglomerate, you may see Purelator oil filters made in different countries. So mine are always made in China. I've not had one made in the United States. Royal Purple, made in the United States, headquartered in Porter, Texas, partners with Champion Laboratories. Champion Laboratories is First Brands. SuperTech, that's the Walmart brand. It says used to partner with Wix, but now produces its own line through Champion Laboratories with Champion Labs manufacturing facilities in South Carolina, Illinois. SuperTech oil filters are 100% made in the United States. Interesting. Do you believe that? Champ Lab is part of the First Brands group. STP partners with Champion Laboratories to make its oil filters. Champion Laboratories has manufacturers in Illinois and South Carolina. Champ Labs is part of the First Brands Group. Now look at all these brands that are just owned by someone else. And those someone else's are 3 different companies. Wix, some oil filters made in the United States. Wix is an American filter company with headquarters in Gastonia, North Carolina. Since Wix is owned by filter conglomerate Mann and Hummel, many of Wix oil filters are not made in the United States. Regardless, the majority of canister spin on Wix filters are still made in the United States. So look, if you want an American-made oil filter, you are not going to be in good shape. Now, I saw this. I thought this was interesting. Report: AC Delco parts labeled "Made in the USA" came from China. So this was in 2021. A customer who bought an AC Delco oil filter saw the "Made in the USA" sticker on the package. Then he noticed the "Made in China" on the fine print. From there, this has spiraled into a class action lawsuit over false claims in advertising and packaging by AC Delco and General Motors. This is the bottom line. Consumers pay premium prices for auto parts made in the USA. That's exactly right. I myself will pay a little more to keep an American working. Call me a sucker. Say prove it. I get what you're saying. I have a foreign made car. Well, made in Indiana, but the company Subaru is in Japan. But I'll pay more. I really would for an oil filter. I'll pay more for oil. I'll pay more for anything. You say, well, John, that's stupid. You're going to pay more for oil that's synthetic? Where did this? I mean, come on. It doesn't make any sense. Like, oil comes from the ground, right? Well, I don't think synthetic does, or the bases. I don't even understand. Look, all I know is I go change my oil. I wanted to buy a filter from the United States, made in the USA. I'm tired of not being able to get my Purolator filters from China. It's just driving me nuts. The lawsuit spells out that consumers pay premium prices for auto parts made in the USA. It's true. I would pay more money for something built in the United States. But according to the lawsuit, those parts are made in China. All persons who purchased in the United States an AC Delco product and packaging displaying made in the USA for end users and not for resale, where all significant parts and processing that go into the product are not of U.S. origin. What do you mean it's made in the USA, but it's not? The plaintiff says in the lawsuit he purchased an AC Delco automatic transmission filter last October. The packaging has the Made in USA logo on it. He states this was the deciding factor in him making the purchase over similar products. The plaintiff was outraged after seeing the part stamped "Made in China." According to the lawsuit, no other parts of the filter had any country of origin identification, even if the "Made in China" inscription on the surface of plaintiff's transmission filter applied only to the single plastic housing piece that bears the inscription. The "Made in USA's" claim still fails the all or virtually all standard and is unlawful, deceptive, and misleading, the lawsuit says. Now, that's right. If you're going to say something's made in the USA, then it better be made in the USA. Like, I don't think that's wrong. Says the suit argues that "Made in USA" claim goes back to the all or virtually all U.S. Federal Trade Commission standard. Back in 1995, I believe Clinton was in office then, don't quote me. The FTC looked in, because, man, with that Walmart fiasco when I was growing up, Walmart was, everything was, things were made in the USA, and Bill Clinton was leading the charge. And I mean, it's just, when you look back now, it's like cringe. It says back in 1995, the FTC looked into consumers' buying habits related to the USA origin of manufacture. Consumers expect both the parts and assembly of a component to have been made in the USA to warrant the "Made in USA" claim, according to the standard. In 1997, the FTC established the all or virtually all standard. It states that all significant parts and processing that go into the product are of U.S. origin, i.e., where there is only a de minimis or negligible amount of foreign content. Typically, made in the USA products are more expensive than foreign-made parts. So consumer expectation is that the USA part is a better part, and they are willing to pay more for that premium, or pay for that premium. In short, the lawsuit alleges that the "Made in USA" claim is unlawful, deceptive, and it violates warranty claims. Now, I don't know. It says the lawsuit is filed against General Motors, which owns AC Delco. Now, AC Delco doesn't make their own filters. They're made by, I think it's First Brands, based on this article. The previous article, I mean. And all I'm saying to you is look, it seems like there's only 3 major manufacturers of oil filters in the world. That seems problematic, doesn't it? And that's just for oil filters. Now, there's all kinds of other things. It's like, can you imagine as a U.S. consumer? Now, I'm just putting this out there. U.S. consumer, You're willing to pay more for a oil filter made in the United States. You buy a product that you think is made in the United States, it's actually made in China. The seller of the product pockets the additional revenue that comes with you paying more for a filter that they're manufacturing for less in a foreign country. Seems wrong. Seems wrong. I mean, look, again, it's an oil filter, you know. Is that where we're going to take a stand on American made products? I don't know. I guess not, because they're all made in China. Now look, there's different kind of products like jeans. Levi's moved its manufacturing to China long ago, probably in the 2000s, early 2000s. You know, that was a great American brand. It's still an American brand, but everything's manufactured in China. Um, or God knows where. It's just not made in the United States. I've always been of the understanding that when companies are headquartered in the United States and we can produce products cheaper somewhere else, we get the benefit from it. I don't think that's true. I've read, is it Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations? And in it he talks about, fair trade in the sense that, like, somebody produces rugs that are exceptional and trades them with a country that produces wine that's exceptional. Both of these countries benefit. That's not the case with what we're seeing with things like oil filters and other things. We're seeing one country, that is China, that has basically slave labor producing 90% of the world's products. And then what are we getting? What are we giving China in return? Like, we can't compete with them, but what are they giving us in return? What is the product that we're getting that is also of exceptional value? The oil filter? I don't think so. I mean, I don't think we design it here and we send it over there and then say, "Hey, don't you cheat on the design. Don't you steal the design." And they're like, "We don't believe in intellectual property rights, so we're going to do exactly that." They've been doing it since the 60s at least. And like, look, there's always the whataboutism. You could say, "Hey, John, what about when George Bush was illegally, you know, uh, I don't want to say illegally banning steel imports from other countries because he was accusing them of dumping, but the World Trade Organization decided that there was no such thing and that we should take steel from other countries." You say, "Well, look at what we did there." Look, I think that and I was working on this today. Do you think some bean counter, okay, gets an accurate number of anything from which we can base our trade off of? If there's some sort of quota that says we can have no more than 51% of all oil filters manufactured in foreign countries, do you think China is going to sit there and say, "Oh well, since there's this written down rule, we'll just make we'll abide by that"? No, they're gonna stretch that thing as much as they can. They may have to pay off a few people, but they're more than happy to do that. They're not working on the same value system that we are. And when I say we are, I'm saying they're not working on my value system. I can't speak for yours. I have no idea what it is. When we go to the next article, you're going to blow your mind, I believe, where I'm coming down on that one. So anyway, 20 minutes long talking about where you can get an oil filter made in the USA doesn't look very positive. The expectation that you should be able to get a filter made in the United States, an oil filter for your car, probably shouldn't exist. Like, you shouldn't think that anymore. That just goes to prove it. Okay, now, so that's what we talked about. It's running late. I may not do a full show tonight. I'm like, I've had a day. And I might not do a full show. But let's get into the next thing. Okay, let me ask you this. Simply enough, do you think politicians lie? Now, let me ask you this. Do you think every decision you've ever made in your life, has it been perfect? Okay. From who to marry, to what car to buy, to what house to buy, to how you should raise your kids. Has every decision you've ever made been perfect? And you say, well, that's an impossible standard. Yes, it absolutely is. It's an impossible standard to assume that you as an individual will make the correct decision 100% of the time. When you say, well, John, things influence my decision. What people say, how they look, how they carry themselves influences my decision. Yes. Yes, it does. That's marketing. You say, no, I'm logical. Okay. Well, then I'm sure there's some technical specifications for you as to why you should make a decision. And it may not be perfect. Okay. But you're not going to tell yourself that you've made a bad decision every single time you've made a decision. So that's what I'm going with right now. Let's talk about this fellow. This is hilarious to me. This is a troll of trolls. Liar. Rep-elect George Santos admits to fabricating key details of his bio. The horror. Are you serious? There's a congressman that is lying about his bio? Are you kidding me? All right, well, we can't have that. We can't have that. I mean, look, like, what if he makes a decision that you don't agree with as a representative? It's because he lied to you. Oh, wait a minute. That's everyone else that's already in Congress. Do you think Mitch McConnell tells the truth? Do you think Chuck Schumer is of great truth-telling ability? Nancy Pelosi? Lindsey Graham? Do you think any of the Kevin McCarthy? By the way, I can't name all the congressmen in the United States or women or Congress people, whatever it is now. I can't name them all. Legislators. Do I care if this guy lied about every single thing in his life? No, I don't. No. He won. Now, if you're the challenger, are you upset that someone just blatantly lied and won? I can remember when they said Mitt Romney killed dogs. Like, okay. I don't know if you remember that, but he's like, he kills dog. He left a dog on the roof of his car and killed it one time or something on a vacation. Politics is nasty. Politics is very, very nasty. If you think someone telling a lie should preclude them from taking office, I mean, look, if the government goes as to how we the people vote, we've already blown it. Do you know what kind of crazies we've got in office? And I'm talking about both sides. Please understand. I don't care about this. I mean, I don't care about this at all. I don't care about this at all. I think it's kind of funny. You know what? I'm always harking back to a story about Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes, at one point in time, billionaire, he goes and he starts working at his airline as a baggage handler. Okay. Why? No one knows. He just did. He thought that'd be something to do for the day. So let's get into this. If I can get to the right page, it says, okay, Long Island Rep. George Santos came clean to the Post on Monday, admitting that he lied on the campaign trail about his education and work experience, but insisting that the controversy won't deter him from serving out his 2-year term in Congress. Now, just to be fair, this was the 26th. This is the 29th. He went on Tucker Carlson, but Tucker Carlson's off for the holiday, so Tulsi Gabbard was on, and she's like, how dare you? How dare you lie? I mean, people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. You were a representative. Maybe you were the best representative ever, and you never lied. But I just feel like it's highly unlikely that these people don't lie about anything. I'm not a criminal, he said at one point during the exclusive interview. This controversy will not deter me from having good legislative success. I will be effective. I will be good. He will be good because he will be a turncoat. He'll be able to say whatever he needs to say to get out of anything he needs to get out of. Santos's professional biography was called into question earlier this month after the New York Times reported that he misrepresented a number of claims, including where he attended college and his alleged employment history with the high-profile Wall Street firms. Now, the New York Times is not a bastion of truth-telling by any stretch of the imagination. The Wall Street Times is a far-left Democratic mouthpiece. Basically, it's the Democratic committee mouthpiece. I mean, this is absolutely obvious. It has not been a good paper. I mean, they had Walter Durant. This has not been a good paper. I mean, they call it the paper of record because it's good branding, it's good marketing. It's not a good paper, not for getting real news. So I don't. I'm already suspicious. When the Wall Street Times, I mean, this guy, the fellow that committed all the fraud for crypto, that guy, they think he's great. Well, why? Who's he connected with? Santos is professional. Okay, my sins are embellishing my resume. I'm sorry. No, it's not. Your sins are that you totally lied. Okay, and I guess you were quote unquote dumb enough to think that people wouldn't figure that out, or you just didn't care. You were so flippant that you just didn't care. And I think that it's the latter, which makes it funny. Santos confessed that he had never worked directly for Goldman Sachs and Citigroup, chalking that fib up to a poor choice of words. Now, look, do you want someone from Goldman Sachs or Citigroup working in the House of Representatives or the Senate? They're terrible. They're terrible. Why would you want that? Like, that's, to me, that would almost be a disqualifying reason to vote somebody into the House of Representatives. Santos, the 34-year-old, so he's a young fellow. He now claims that instead that a company called Linkbridge, where he worked as a vice president, did business with both of the financial giants. Now, look, this guy's a vice president at a company at 34. I mean, okay. At Linkbridge, Santos said he helped make capital introductions between clients and investors, and Goldman Sachs and Citigroup were LPs, limited partnerships that his company dealt with. He also admitted that he never graduated from any college, despite previously claiming to have received a degree from Barack in 2010. Now, look, I think that's funny. I really do. It's absurd, okay? And that's the point of history that we've entered. Everything is absurd. Everything. I didn't graduate from any, the guy didn't graduate, but he's at Goldman Sachs, okay, and Citigroup at 34, vice president of the other company that he works for. I'm embarrassed and sorry for having embellished my resume. I own up to that. We do stupid things in life. Look, it wasn't stupid. You did this to get ahead. I don't think that there's anybody anymore that doesn't do this. Now, look, the fact is you got caught. Okay. Santos, elected to Congress on November 8th to represent the Long Island and Queens-based 3rd District, was also accused of lying about his family history, saying on his campaign website that his mother was Jewish and his grandparents escaped the Nazis during World War II. Santos now says he's clearly Catholic, but claimed his grandmother told stories about being Jewish and later converting to Catholicism. I'll tell you what, and I don't mean to defend this fellow, but look, my great grandfather was from Hungary. Okay. I just have a hard time believing that there's not some sort of Jewish background, in my mixed breed of who I am. I just find it very unlikely. It says I never claim to be Jewish. I'm Catholic, but because I learned my maternal family had a Jewish background, I said I was Jewish. I don't know. It's weird. It says Santos, the first openly gay and non-incumbent Republican elected to the House, also faced accusations that he lied about his sexual orientation, with the Daily Beast reporting last week that he was previously married to a woman until shortly before he launched his unsuccessful 2020 campaign against Democrat Tom Suozzi. Now, look, I know people that are gay that have been married to women in the past. I don't think that's really weird. Like, I don't think it's really weird. I don't understand it. Okay. I'm being honest with you, but I don't think it's weird. Okay. I don't know, like, I don't know what is the point here? Like, did he use being gay to his advantage? Is that what the claim is? I'm speaking to you now. I don't understand. I don't know. It says the soon-to-be lawmaker confirmed the Post on Monday that he was indeed married to a woman for about 5 years, from 2012 until his divorce in 2017, but he insisted he's now a happy married gay man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, and then the problem is you say, well, he's a liar. So is he not a happily married gay man? Is he unhappy in his marriage? I mean, I dated a woman in the past. I married a woman. It's personal stuff, Santos said, adding that the relationship got a little toxic. Look, I mean, how much of your personal life is for public debate? If you make it a pillar of uh, uh, your platform, then I guess it's open to some scrutiny, I guess. But I just said, I'm very much gay. I'm okay with my sexuality. People change. I'm one of those people who change. All right. It's weird to me, like, if you are married to a man and you're a man, okay, like, the charge is what exactly? That you're like, all I see is that you would not be gay. That doesn't make any sense. Are you saying he's not married? Like, see what it doesn't, like, I just don't get it. It says Santos also acknowledged being a deadbeat tenant in Sunnyside, Queens, where the Times reported he was ordered by a judge to pay more than $12,000 to a former landlord who claimed non-payment of several months of rent, as well that Santos had tried to pass a check that bounced. Totally believe that. Totally believe that. And let me just ask you, what is the bar to trip over to be in Congress? I mean, what is the bar to trip over? To me, you basically have to win. That's it. That's the bar. It says on Monday, Santos claimed that at the time of the lawsuit, his family was deep in medical debt from his mother's cancer battle. We were engulfed in debt. We had issues paying rent at the time. It's the vulnerability of being human. I'm not embarrassed by it. This man is not going to be embarrassed by much. I'm just telling you. Santos said his mother died of cancer on December 23rd, 2016, after living with him at the Queen's apartment and acknowledging the judgment against him. Asked if he ever actually paid the arrears, Santos admitted, we didn't pay it off. I completely forgot about it because that's who he is. Santos also admitted to lying when he claimed he owned 13 different properties, saying he now resides at his sister's place in Huntington, but is looking to purchase his own place. George Santos does not own any properties. He's talking about himself in the third person. I do that from time to time. I've always thought it's weird. I don't like it, but sometimes you just get thrown into the third person. Santos was defiant at one point, denying an allegation raised by the Times that he had unspecified criminal charge against him in Brazil. I'm not a criminal here, not in Brazil or any other jurisdiction in the world. Absolutely not. That didn't happen. And so then, now, no offense, but if the Times is lying about his criminal record in Brazil that doesn't exist, then does that make them any better than the person they're skewering here for being a liar? The incoming congressman has dismissed concerns his lies will impact his effectiveness in representing New Yorkers in the lower chamber of the New York. Absolutely. Absolutely. This guy's going to be dynamite. I mean, whoever has the most money, he's going to go with. Like, that's how he's going to vote. And by the way, tell me that the other ones aren't the same way. The incoming congressman dismissed concern. Oh, sorry. I campaigned talking about the people's concern, not my resume. That's interesting. I intend to deliver on the promise I made during the campaign, fighting crime, fighting to lower inflation, improving education. He added, saying that the people elected me to fight for them. This is hilarious to me. Like when you let's just use a very well, I don't want to use a I'm trying to think. Okay, watch this. So let's say you vote, like there's a Republican that runs for office and says we're going to stop the border invasion down south. Okay. And you vote for him and you're like, hey, man, awesome. Thank God you're finally going to solve this problem. And he's like, oh, yeah. And then he votes for things that go actively against stopping the problem at the border. And you're like, you call him out on, you say, hey, man, I thought we were like, I voted for you for this reason, and you're not doing anything. Okay. How's that any worse than this guy? How's that any worse than this guy? This guy up front is a complete liar. Okay. It's just in the way it's delivered. I came to DC to bring results to those issues. That's what I'm going to do. He's not going to do anything. He's not going to do nothing on inflation as a congressman. Nothing. I can tell you that right now. Does that make him a liar? Meanwhile, Santos said he paid the $11 million in assets reported in his financial disclosure report filed in September are tied to his DeVolder consulting firm. Now, look, this man is a serial liar. Okay. There's nothing, this is just what he is. How he's got $11 million in assets is impressive. All of my finances come from the firm. The assets are the contracts with the firm, he told the Post. His campaign committee, DeVolder Santos for Congress, also reported that he personally loaned his campaign more than $600,000. Senior House Republican. Now, so the guy can't afford a house or a condo in New York City, but he can afford to loan his run for Congress $600,000. Senior House Republicans were apparently aware of the inaccuracies and embellishments in the member-elect's resume, and the topic became a running joke. Multiple insiders close to House GOP leadership told the Post over the weekend. As far as questions about George in general, that he was always something that was brought up whenever we talked about this race, said one senior GOP leadership, it was a running joke at a certain point. This is the second time he's run it, and these issues we assumed would be worked out by the voters. So they were kind of openly hoping that he would lose. His own political party openly hoping that he would lose. Does that remind you of anyone? Last week, the top Republican in Nassau County demanded that Santos explain himself after his web of lies began to unravel. While I have indicated that the congressman-elect deserves a reasonable amount of time to respond to the media, voters deserve a sincere accounting for Mr. Santos, said Nassau County Republican Committee Chairman Joseph Cairo. I will be listening attentively, and I want to hear meaningful remarks from George Santos. What does that even mean? I lied about everything. There's that meaningful. Moving on. George Santos may pose espionage threat due to murky background intelligence experts. This is the most stupid article I've ever read. Look up Eric Swalwell. Okay. Look up the name Eric Swalwell. Look at what he did. Tell me about this. Look up Dianne Feinstein. And you say, well, those are both both Democrats, John. Where are the Republicans? Oh, I just don't have one on the top of my head. If you think Mitch McConnell is running around with nobody in his back pocket, come on. Come on. A longtime Pentagon official warned that Representative George Santos poses unprecedented challenge to national security given his recent admitting lying about his background, mysterious finances, and potential access to government secrets after he takes office in January. Do you really believe that? The President of the United States has a son that has done business with many, many, many businesses. And it's kind of like, Now, like the whole politics, all of it, the House, the Senate, the president, and not just to that president. George H.W. Bush, go back and look at his ties to China. This is not like new. It's not new. Every congressman has eligibility for access to classified information that terrifies security professionals because they haven't really been reviewed for it. Now, I've been told reliably that Adam Schiff has all the goods on everyone as long as they're Republican. I've heard that. So I'm trying to figure out, that guy's on the intelligence committee. He gets everything. He gets all the classified information. So what's up with that? Dan Meyer, now the managing director of the law firm Tilly Rookney's Washington, D.C. office, told the Post, we don't know whether they're a potential espionage threat. Reporting by the Post and other media outlets has highlighted how Santos, who is copped to lying about much of his background, somehow made millions with a company he claims leveraged his contacts to sell used luxury items like yachts for six-figure fees. I think that's pretty slick. This guy would sell you anything. He literally got elected to Congress. Santos' own campaign filings do not disclose any clients giving him business of more than $5,000 as required by federal law, fueling speculation about how the 34-year-old got the money considering his past record of stiffing landlords and toiling for five-figure incomes. It's quite a mystery, isn't it? It says Meyer has lent his legal expertise to 3 presidential administrations. I don't care. I mean, seriously, this is so crazy to me. It says in campaign filings, Santos reported earning $750,000 from his DeVolder organization, along with dividends valued between $1 million and $5 million. As recently as 2020, however, he reported making just $55,000 in annual salary. Well, I don't know what this is about. It's very confusing. In late November, the Daily Beast, beacons of honesty, a cousin reported that Andrew Intrater, a cousin of and money manager for sanctioned Russian oligarch Viktor Veskelberg, gave more than $56,000 to political committees supporting Santos, who defeated Democrat Robert Zimmerman. It says, in addition, filings with the Federal Election Committee show Santos loaned his own successful House campaign more than $700,000, almost as much as his reported salary. What really worries me as a security professional is that $700,000, whose national security experience ranges from fighting pirates in the Middle East to handling intelligence disclosure on state-sized matters like 9/11 attacks. Someone who could generate $700,000 like that could also probably generate several hundred thousands to be comfortably situated in a foreign country. Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, the people voted for him. And you say, well, they wouldn't have voted for him if they knew all this stuff. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's charismatic. Maybe no one was paying attention. It says this is not like the 1970s where it'll take weeks for the stuff to kind of bumble along. Even if you were going to betray the country back then, you had to figure out a way to contact the Russians. But now it can happen at a moment's notice. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it has happened. And it was probably around the 70s where it just got out of hand. Ultimately, House leadership and intelligence officials determine the level of access like Santos have to the most sensitive secrets held by the federal government. Does Eric Swalwell have access to all the documents? Does Adam Schiff have all the access to all the documents? And then there's your answer. It doesn't really matter then. It doesn't really matter at all that this guy's going to get access to these records. It says the putative front-runner to be House Speaker next January, Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, did not respond to a request for comment Wednesday. Santos, who did not immediately respond to Meyer's comments, has dismissed calls to resign the city 1 week ago. I mean, he did nothing illegal. So he claims he did nothing illegal. And it may be true. I don't know. What are the laws of lying completely about everything about yourself? Is that okay? Could you be speaking on free speech grounds? I mean, as long as you didn't lie about getting loans, like as long as you didn't lie to secure those loans. And so now, because the press has jumped all over this, everyone's all up in arms. NPR is reporting that the New York rep-elect George Santos is being investigated for lying about his past. Okay. It says U.S. Rep-elect George Santos of New York was under investigation by Long Island prosecutors on Wednesday after revelations surfaced that the now embattled Republican lied about his heritage, education, and professional pedigree as he campaigned for office. Well, look. Did he lie about? I don't know. It's confusing to me. Despite intensifying doubt about his fitness to hold federal office, Santos has shown no signs of stepping aside, even as he publicly admitted to a long list of lies. Nassau County District Attorney Brent Donnelly, a Republican, said the fabrications and inconsistencies were nothing short of stunning. I don't think they're that stunning. I think it's fantastic. The residents of Nassau County and other parts of the 3rd District must have an honest and accountable representative in Congress. Then you can have no one. No one that's currently involved in this government is even close to honest and accountable. Not one. If a crime was committed in this country, in this county, we'll prosecute it. Okay. Good luck with that. Santos' campaign did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Wednesday. He's scheduled to be sworn in next Tuesday. If he assumes office, he could face investigations by the House Committee on Ethics and the Justice Department. By the way, who's on the House Committee of Ethics? Or on ethics? And what do they do with their own members? Do they throw the book at him? Santos suggested he doesn't plan to step aside in Twitter post Wednesday about a visit to the U.S. Marine Academy earlier in the day. In Congress, I look forward to working alongside them to fully utilizing this amazing resource we have in our own backyard in NY. 3, I think it's great. I think it's great. The Republican has admitted to lying about having Jewish ancestry, a Wall Street pedigree, and a college degree, but has yet to answer other lingering questions, including the source of what appears to be a quickly amassed fortune, despite recent financial problems, including evictions and owning thousands in back rent. I think that's totally reasonable and legit. How did you make so much money so fast? Can we do the same? A fellow Long Island Republican rep-elect Nick LaLota says he was troubled by the revelations. I believe a full investigation by the House Ethics Committee and if necessary law enforcement is required. Great. Way to throw your own under the bus, you useful idiot. And look up useful idiot just so you know exactly what I'm talking about. The New York Attorney General's office has already said it's looking into the issues that come to light. The DA's office says we're looking into this matter. Well, what are they going to say? We're not? We're not looking into this. We're not looking into this. The guy lied about everything he did. Well, we're not going to look into it. It says other Republicans castigated Santos, but stopped short of asking him to step aside. Let's see who these people are. So, it broken the public trust by making serious misstatements. There was no trust. There should be no trust. So that's not true. It says question intensifies after the left-wing corporate press, New York Times, examined the narrative that Santos presented to workers during a successful campaign for a congressional district that straddles the North Shore suburbs of Long Island and the sliver of Queens. Hilarious in the sense this is the one where it's subject of a criminal investigation in 2008 over allegations that he used stolen checks to buy items at a clothing shop in the city of Niterói. At the time, he would have been 19. Times quoted local prosecutors as saying the case was dormant because Santos had never appeared in court. Now, is he Brazilian? Democrats pounced and demanded that he voluntarily not take office. Now, look, the Democrats, they're smart. They say, we're playing for keeps, okay? And any way we can get rid of one of yours, the other team, we're going to do that. Republicans are not that smart. They often say, hey, we don't like what you did, but it's as long as you don't do it again, it's okay. We're above that, and that's what always gets them to be loser status. He lied about working at Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, lied about having a degree in finance and economics from Baruch College in New York. He invented a life story that's come under question, claiming that his grandparents fled Jewish persecution in Ukraine, settled in Belgium, and again fled persecution during World War II. He referred to himself as a proud American Jew. I mean, it's just not good. He backtracked on that claim, saying he never intended to claim Jewish heritage, which would have likely raised his appeal among his district's significant ranks of Jewish voters. What is that about? I mean, you're kind of insulting the Jewish people there. You're saying they only voted for him because he was a Jew, and if he's not a Jew, they don't vote for him. It's like, that's not good. In the statement, the Republican Jewish Coalition repudiated, saying he deceived us and misrepresented his heritage in public comment, and to us personally, he previously came to be Jewish. He will not be welcome at any future RJC event. Well, that's fine. Like, I'm not welcome at many events. I don't get invited to many things. It's okay. It allows me to stream. It says, then it goes to the Fox News, said, Tulsi Gabbard says, you really don't seem to be taking this seriously. You apologized. You said you made mistakes, but you've outright lied. A lie is not an embellishment on a resume. What is it? I mean, so what? Like, again, I mean, do we really need to go down the times that politicians have lied either to get into office or lie while they're in office? You say, well, it's hyperbole. It's not a lie. Put people in chains. You remember that one? Eesh, bad stuff. Bad stuff. Look, I agree with what you're saying. We can debate my resume and how I work with firms such as. Is it debatable or is it just false? No, it's not false at all. It's debatable. I said, okay. Says he lost his first race for Congress in 2020, but successfully ran this year. In its opposition research on Santos, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee raised several red flags about the Republican record. Can you believe that the Democrats looked into this guy's records and they thought that things were a little fishy? The Democrats did that. The 87-page dossier. Do we all have this, by the way? Do we all have access to this? Sought to tie into the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol and support for baseless claims. Look at it, just comes in there. Baseless claims of widespread fraud in the 2020 presidential election. The report also sought to depict him as a far-right candidate. But buried within its report, the DCCC has raised issues about his shaky financial standing and multiple evictions that left him thousands of dollars in debt. He says his Democratic opponent also tried to raise his misrepresentations during his losing campaign, but it didn't gain much traction. Oh, and it says Zimmerman said Santos is unfit for office. Yeah. And has called for him to step aside so a special election can be held. By the way, is Zimmerman going to run on that special election? You darn right he is. Because he is just as corrupt and terrible as every other politician. Moving on, we're going to do some real estate. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm so talkative about this. We're going to do the tweets, and then I'm going to head out tonight. I'm getting to be on fumes. What do we got for mortgage rates today? Mortgage rate 6.50%, a drop from 4 basis points from 6.54 yesterday. That's not bad. To your tweets. Not your tweets, because nobody tweets to me. Nobody responds. Nobody's on chat. It's just kind of. Anyway, I wanted you to see this. Should you see it down the road? This is in Toronto. This is the housing affordability monitor. I just want to make sure that you can see it. Okay. If you can see up here, non-condo, 100 mortgage payment as a percent of income. 100.3% of your mortgage payment as a percent of your income is being paid quarter over quarter. Okay. Like, do you understand how ridiculous that is? It should be like 20. It should be like 20 to 30% of your percentage of income. $1,351,766 is the price of the representative home in the metropolitan market. $273,549 is the household annual income needed to afford the representative home. 361 months of saving is required for the down payment savings rate of 10%. Now, I got to do the math because I'm not very bright. It's 30 years. That's so screwed up. Now, you could say I'm wrong. You could say this doesn't exist. And you say, why do you care about Toronto? Why do you care about Canada? I'm telling you, there's something screwy in the housing market, and it's all over the world. It's cheap money that flooded the system, and it's really caused problems. Markets in mayhem. Wow, mortgage rates rose more in 2022 than any other calendar year, according to Dow Jones. It doesn't seem good. Encore bubble. I evicted a family that left willingly. Can I steal their stuff now? He's paraphrasing. It says, curiosity. I just evicted a family for 2 months of no payment. They left willingly only after the constable showed up. I know I have to hold the property for 30 days for them. Upon inventorying their property, I found expensive tools and electronics adding to more than the rent. Am I able to hold on to their property and not give it back until they pay all the fees and rent? I don't have any social security number or current employment history, as those were falsified on the background check that was conducted. Going to civil court will be crazy hard. The person wrote, they can barely afford to survive and you want to steal from them? JFC. I don't know what that means. I'm getting old. Because, I'm on a stream, you know, let's see what it means. It didn't do what I want. Oh my gosh. Are you really going to do this to me? I'll do it again. Wow. That is not nice. JFC is not a very nice thing. Thank you, Google, for that. Says they left willingly and didn't destroy your shit. Don't kick people when they're down. Genevieve Roche Dector wrote that there were like 10 things that went crazy during the year. A woman named Heather Morgan for the financial markets. A woman named Heather Morgan, who raps under the name Rosal Khan, was arrested along with her husband for allegedly laundering $4.5 billion in stolen crypto. Here's one of her raps. All I can say is I can't play it because I'm worried I'd actually give this, I'd get like a copyright strike or something. You really should listen to this hot pile of garbage. I did. And I'm impressed by just how bad. Like you stole 4.5 billion in stolen crypto. You stole 4.5 billion and it's such a bad video. And it's such a bad such bad production. Like you got 4.5 billion to play with. Like Lady Gaga's got like her dad or something in the record industry. She puts out great stuff. Great. Really, highly produced and everything. And then you've got you. Like, what's your excuse? You're in jail? Look, I have the link in the description. Please go look at it. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you think it's hip and good. Ryan Crownholm was talking about this video here. Dave Ramsey said on June 14th that prices are not going to go down. Dave Ramsey, for those of you who don't know, has a referral service that you pay for as a real estate agent. Or he did. And so, Dave Ramsey's so great with personal finance. I'll just use one of his affiliated agents to buy a house or sell a house. I don't know how it works. I don't know how the referral works. I don't know if he gets like 20% or 30%, but it's not free. He's not doing it for the benefit of his, the benefit of the people. It says every realtor on social media used this video to try and convince their clients into buying a falling knife. The housing correction isn't speculative. It's simple math. So look, this is America. If you believe in Dave Ramsey, if you think that he's really looking out for the people, okay, and not for himself, then you go with Dave Ramsey and use his affiliated people, and I'm sure everything works out well. If you don't believe what Dave Ramsey is saying is true based on your own research, then don't go that way. My statement to you, the way I look at things is, look, there's times when people have to buy houses. And I say they have to buy, but it makes sense. Okay. Every reason to buy a house is valid. Every reason to sell a house is valid. To me, that's just the way I see it. And I'm biased. I'm a real estate agent. Darth Powell, love Darth Powell on some things, says here, where does the housing collapse start? In total, real estate investors acquired 90,215 homes in the third quarter, an 80.2% increase year over year. This was in, I believe, 2021. Markets in mayhem. Households own 37% of the stock market. Now, let me explain why this matters. If this is true and the market corrects, as some are predicting, the households will lose their wealth and therefore not be able to use that wealth that they had acquired to make house payments. Not good. And then the last two things I wanted to do a little bit differently tonight. Ted C. Jones writes, luxury home sales plunged 38% in the 60. I didn't do the thing. Sorry about that. In the 60 largest counties tracked by Redfin, Nassau County saw the largest decline in tracked counties, down 6% in the 3 months ending November 22nd, year over year. Redfin defines, it's very good that he puts this. Redfin defines luxury homes as those priced in the top 5% in each market. Okay. Darth Powell writes, luxury home availability is absolutely skyrocketing. Rich are getting out. So see how the luxury home supply is the most since 2016. Very, very interesting. Like, so do you want to go in right now and be a luxury agent? I'd be a luxury agent anytime. But I do have problems, like just internally, not being able to sell a house for like 6 months to a year, or maybe like for years. Like some of those high end homes never sell. It's hard on my psyche. Really hard. Let me go back here. I'm not going to do any articles tonight. If you thought I was going to do those articles, I was, and I didn't. So does that make me a liar? I don't know. I'm just telling you what I was going to do. I'm going to head out. Is the plan to stream tomorrow night? I don't know. I don't want to lie to you. Man, I mean, just I can see so many lies in my head over the years from politicians, and like, this is the one that's going to stop this fellow. These are the ones. It's like, yeah, whatever. All right, well, hope you have a good night. We're really close to New Year's. The news cycle is kind of slow for real estate, so I apologize for that. But it'll pick up. It'll pick up. People will write good things. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.